We are talking about more layoffs, just like yesterday. Not a happy way to start off our Thursday, but nonetheless, the talk of the town right now. Stripe has laid off about 1,000 employees after downgrading its future outlook, saying that, hey, maybe this internet business is a little bit slower than we thought it was going to be. This follows on reporting from Bloomberg that Twitter is also slashing about 50% of its workforce. That is on reporting from Bloomberg, nothing yet from Twitter on the story. And then lastly, for Dapper Labs, also laying off about 22% of its workforce, saying that crypto winter is here. So a lot of layoffs to start off Thursday, guys. Not great news. Ben, I want to throw this one over to you. We talked about it, yes, earlier on the show this week. Sort of just the scene for tech right now. We're going into recession possibly, or at least a slowdown in tech. So it makes sense to have some sort of layoffs, but curious to get your thoughts on these three organizations shedding some workers.
Definitely. I mean, there's a general sentiment going around, but I think there's slightly different stories going on here. I mean, Twitter is obviously linked to the massive acquisition price, and Elon Musk is looking to cut costs, it seems. Getting rid of half of the workforce is a good way to do that, I guess, even though terrible for the employees, obviously. With Dapper Labs, that's more linked to an NFT mania ending. I mean, it's interesting to compare the sales volume of NBA Top Shot, which was kind of the big mainstream moment for NFTs back in last year in 2021. At the height of that boom in February, they were seeing volumes over $200 million per month, and now that volume is less than 3 million this month, or last month. So you can really see, the mania cratering out, and I think that's the reason behind this layoffs or spate of layoffs in that case.
Yeah, I think the point about the differences between these different moves is important, and also just to put it in larger context. We have been waiting for a recession, and we're seeing these layoffs in tech. But the layoffs in tech are pretty specific and don't necessarily feed into the larger recession narrative, which just honestly hasn't emerged. We don't have a jobs report that is showing wide losses. These are very specific to tech. And Twitter, in particular, just doesn't fit into anything. It's all about Elon paying too much for the company. Exactly. And Dapper, it's cyclical. It's tempting to put these things into a bigger narrative, but I'm not really sure there is one. I mean, this is very tech specific. I will say Stripe cutting jobs in particular is scary. Stripe is a very widespread payments infrastructure company, and we would have to dig into the numbers more, but it's very interesting to see them cut because they're not selling NFTs, they're selling point of sale. That's a totally different story, and that one is a little bit worrying. But tech layoffs, we're strange animals over here. We're not even necessarily part of everything else that's going on.
Definitely. One little note of pushback I might throw it back at you, David, if I can, is Facebook and a lot of these other larger tech companies that are specifically focused on social media did have a lot of layoffs at the beginning of the year, right? There's been layoffs in a few different sectors within social media. And so to my mind's eye, I don't think that happened in Twitter because there was like this price for Twitter that was floating over their head for the last 6 months. They knew how much they're going to be bought for. Why would the Twitter management at that point start laying people off? They're just going to let the new guard come in and sweep everyone out. And I think there was going to be some sort of layoffs for Twitter at some point just because it's happening all across tech. So that would be like my only slight note of pushback, but I definitely agree that, it's tech. It's a little bit separate from the rest of the ecosystem. And then even within that, you have different buckets, right? Crypto is very different from Stripe, but we're all sort of sailing in the same sea together.